Beautiful piece. Beautiful. Well, good morning, my beloved. Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Pittsburgh. It's Sunday, June 15th of 2025. I am the Reverend Dr. Kadar Walker. I use the she, her pronouns, and I'm just delighted to be here and serve as the minister of this beloved community. For those with visual disability, I'm a middle-aged, light-skinned female. My hair is mid-length with my summer curl. I wear glasses. I'm wearing a blue and white flowered dress with a blue stole. And you are all welcome here. You are so welcome. If you are watching now on YouTube now or in the future, we are so glad that you chose to be with us by getting up and turning on your digital device and hitting play. I'm so glad you actually all got dressed and showed up in person. Absolutely delighted to have you all here. We are Unitarian Universalists. We are people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders, and we are here to seek some answers, to keep asking questions and sometimes be satisfied with our journey. But most of all, we are here to be celebrated. We are here to be with one another in community as we all grow and learn and love, just as you are. If this is your very first time with us, your particular shout out of welcome if you're in person, please check in with our welcome desk, which is in the garden lobby to your left, and say hello, introduce yourself, let us know who you are, share some information. And we also invite you to check out our website. If you're on YouTube, don't do that right now, do it later. And you can find at the bottom of our website is our newsletter. You can sign up to start receiving about all the information that we do on any given week, which is quite a bit, I have to say. Far as I know, there's no social hour today, and that's because we still need somebody to coordinate social hour. So if any of you are missing your coffee after service or your sugar buzz, well, gosh darn. Let us know here in the office, and we'll put you together with some other people who want to coordinate social hour. So, but what there will be after church, if you want some coffee and some treats, you have to work for it. Because over in the Schweitzer room, they're going to be writing letters to the senators about Medicaid cuts that are proposed in the federal budget, immigrant issues. There will be coffee, snacks, writing points, sample letters, and you are welcome to engage in that. And then you will get your coffee and your sugar buzz. Seems like a fair deal. We are also very, very happy that Paul Olbrich has decided, has come forward and said she would like to organize dinner groups starting in the fall. So if you would like to help Pat, she is looking for a small team to start launching that in the fall for dinner groups. And we are also looking for poets. On July 20th, we're going to have a summer service about sacred poetry and music. And if you're interested in helping with writing a poem, or you have a favorite poem you want to offer, please see Stephanie Pulowski, who's going to... There is a theme, not just any poem. There is a theme, but she's going to wave her arms. You can't miss her. See Stephanie if you are a poet and you're waiting for your audience. I invite you to take a deep breath. This has been a rough and full, invigorating, exhausting week. Arrive in your body and spirit. Find yourself connected to your own body in this beautiful sanctuary. Feel connected to one another. Feel yourself connected to Unitarian Universalists around Pittsburgh and around this country. This coming week, Unitarian Universalists are going to be gathering for our annual meeting in Baltimore. The clergy will be coming together as well, rejuvenating our beloved community. You are a part of this. You are a part of this, and I hope you find yourselves re-energized, renewed with hope and resilience. Return now to our chalice lighting. And Haven is going to help light the chalice. the symbol of our faith. Two circles of Unitarian and Universalism coming together with a bright light in the middle, guiding us when we find our days feel struggling. As today we wonder questions and times when we are in pain and suffering, when we are fearful, may this light help guide us with answers as we choose how to respond to all the stresses in life. I invite you to stand as you're able in body and spirit for 3-2-6. Let all the beauty we have known.
My name is Kirsty Atkins, and I am your liturgist of the day. I'm a light-skinned older woman with light hair, and my eyeglasses are purple frames. Our collective reading today is in your order of service, and we'll read it together. We name our collective recommitment to care for the earth, knowing the ground we live upon is sacred. We pledge to bring new life to the earth, new life to the air, new life to the waters, new life to each other, for all life is sacred.
Hello, everyone. I'm Erica Shadowsong, Lifespan Religious Education Director. I have brown skin. I'm wearing a red top and a head wrap and a dark skirt. And I'm really happy to be with you all today. And today we're going to talk about what makes a good day or a bad day. And I'm going to need your help with this a little bit. Okay, so I got a few scenarios for you, and I want you to tell me what you think would make a bad day or a good day for these people. First, we have Farmer Moore. Farmer Moore's crops are drying up. They're going to die unless there's a heavy rain tomorrow. What would make a perfect day for Farmer Moore? And you can speak loud. Rain. Good. Yeah. Anything else? I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory, right? Okay. All right. Meanwhile, we also have Farmer Sal. Farmer Sal's crops are doing really great, actually, because it's dry. But if there's a heavy rain in the next few days, it's going to kill them. What would make Farmer Sal's day a good day? The sun. And what would be a bad day for Farmer Sal? If it rained, heavy rain, yeah. So which one deserves the better day? Because they can't both have the same day. Half and half? Like a little bit of rain, or like rain in the morning and then sun in the afternoon? Tough question, right? How about this one? We have a girl named Dana, and she likes to ski. Dana can win her cross-country ski meet tomorrow if the weather warms up and melts the snow a little bit, because that's how she skis best. Meanwhile, we have Kim. Kim can win her cross-country ski meet tomorrow if the weather cools down and hardens the snow, because that's how she skis best. So what does Dana need? No, she needs the warm, melted snow, right? And Kim needs the hard snow. And they both really want to win the cross-country meet. Which one of them deserves to win? Both? Do you think if we knew anything more about either of them that might change our minds? Like we'd pick someone, maybe? Maybe. Some of you. All right, one last one. Bernie. Bernie has gone to the planning board. He's a business owner. He wants to build a new gas station at 45 Grant Street. The gas station would make a lot of money for him. What would make tomorrow a perfect day for him? If the planning board said, yes, good. All right, obviously. Okay, and then you have HAP. HAP is also going to the planning board meeting. HAP is going there because HAP is a homeowner, and the gas station that would be built would be right across HAP's home. He thinks a new business will ruin his neighborhood. What would make a perfect day for him? Being denied. That would be justice, right? That would feel like justice. So it's hard to decide who deserves that day. Now, you don't have to tell me, but do some of you like one more than the other in some of these stories? Like you side with one more than the other? Yeah, so do you think that that's how bad things work in the world? Like the universe has like people it likes more than others? Probably not, right? It just happens. There's so many of us. Some of us need one thing and the others need the opposite. So yeah, we sometimes have good days and bad days, right? Sometimes it's a matter of perspective, and sometimes it's just a bad day. What's the one good thing about a bad day? There's always something. There's always tomorrow. That's right. You can start over. All right, very good. We're going to sing our children out to our activities. What's the name of the hymn? 395. Sing and Rejoice.
Okay, we're gonna sing it once through together, and then we're gonna sing it as a round. So one, and then followed by somebody else. You can pick which side you want to do, or which version of the round. Sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice. Let all things living now sing and rejoice. Sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice. Sing and rejoice, let all things living now sing and rejoice.
It's now time for the morning offering. Donations by check may be mailed to the church office. Electronic donations can be made online through the church website or by texting GIVE to 412-435-1050 and following the instructions.
I offer a gratitude and happy Father's Day for all of you who have had the blessing of being a father or have a father. Is that everybody? I think, yeah. But I also recognize, like Mother's Day, it is a complex day. Some of us are grieving the death of our fathers, or we may be grieving complex fathers, or maybe we are a complex father. But just recognizing these days where we want to recognize our beloved also bring moments of complexity. And for those who have yearned to be a father and were never able to be, may you rest in knowing that there are many ways to offer our parenting to each other. I'm also celebrating today, as you know, we kind of closed up the formal part of our capital campaign at the beginning of the month, but you all are still giving. I love that. The pledges are still coming in. That's fine. Just keep sending them over. We are at 1.71 million. I know. That is 71% of our goal, and that was our aspirational goal. We blew past our realistic goal. Now we're at our aspirational goal. Isn't that amazing? And that's at 60% participation. And we would love to inch up that piece. So if you have not yet pledged or have not yet talked to Al and Rob Schwartz, who are just geniuses at welcoming your gifts, I invite you to please do so. We also have some sorrows today. In the newspaper this week, there is an obituary for Dr. Francis Barnes, who is a former member of this church, who passed away on May 31st at the age of 104 years old. Yeah, Dr. Francis Barnes. There is a memorial service on June 28th at 11 a.m. at the Rose Funeral Home and cremation services, and you can find that obituary online. And also some sorrow for Kathy Miller. Her nephew, David Bartek, who is age 52, died suddenly last week. The large community in which David lived his whole life truly supported the family with deep love. He left his mother, his older brother, and of course, Kathy, younger sister, nieces and nephews, sister-in-law, former sister-in-law, brothers-in-law, who will all miss him terribly. And Chris Beregi facilitated the funeral service. And Chris Beregi is, of course, Kathy's partner. And today our hearts are heavy. For yesterday, we had the murder of a state senator. Minneapolis and St. Paul and all of that beautiful state of Minnesota are grieving of State Senator Hoffman and his wife were both shot State Senator Hortman was the one who was killed, and her husband, and then Hoffman and his wife, who are recovering from surgery. This is a very dangerous time, my people, and we're going to talk some more about that today in my sermon. But I invite you to bring your grief together and share it, and know that we gather as community and do not be alone. Bring those fears in check. It was a frightening day, and we have an escalating war in Iran. May all of our fears and our anxieties be met with love, be met with companionship and compassion. May we find one another in the darkness of our beings. I invite you now to join me in a few moments of personal prayer or meditation as we enter into silence in this beautiful sanctuary. Spirit of life and love, hold us in your firm embrace. Remind us of the endurance of love, of its strength and its powerful force in our lives. Do not let us forget how it soothes our fears. Let us remember the beauty of life and love, the richness of all that we experience. Even in these days when we find fear at the edges of our lives or at the core of our being, it is there. We send our prayers to all the people in the beautiful state of Minnesota, and the family of the Hortmans and the Hoffmans. We send our love and support to the people of Israel and Palestine and Gaza and Iran, praying that the leaders learn the power of peace and of trust and the horror that is happening now. Let our leaders in our own country recognize that fear is not the answer, that we need to learn to listen to one another with a deepness that humanity may never have truly known. In our quest for love and life and beauty and peace, let our deepest resilience take root. Let our hope be on our lips and in our eyes and in our voices. Let us remember to love one another deeply and unconditionally. Amen. Blessed be. I invite you to stay seated as we sing 391, Voice Still and Small.
Good morning again. Our reading for today is called The Patience of Unanswered Prayer by Reverend Howard Thurman. Teach me the patience of unanswered prayer is a line of the familiar hymn. It opens up before the mind the wide intensity of unfulfilled hopes, broken dreams, and anguish to denials. Who is there who has not carried at a central place in his concerns the persistent hunger, sometimes dull and quiet, sometimes feverish and angry, for something that has not come to pass? The hunger moves in the background of all the days, like the rumble of distant thunder or the far-off roar of the seas. Sometimes it is so close that all of life seems summarized in its urgency and its denial. The general overtones of anguish created by the unfulfilled need often send the soul searching for some clue, some key to unlock the door of the treasure house. All sorts of things are tried. Often, there is the searching of one's own way of life to see if in the intricacies of the personal behavior pattern may not stand revealed the reason for the unmet need. Often, there is a subtle intimation of some weakness in the character that takes no overt form, but turns up as limitations in understanding or blind spots in perception. Often, there is the sure knowledge that one has been hurt, crippled by the actions of others, and low care was exercised in the healing process, with the result that growth was out of line and twisted. But despite all of the meaning of all of the possible clues, the persistent hunger works away deep within. It remains unfulfilled and unmet. Slowly, it may dawn upon the spirit that there is a special ministry of unfulfillment. It may be that the persistent hunger is an angel of light, carrying out a particular assignment in life. With the coming of this possibility into consideration, slowly tensions are relaxed and the center of emphasis is shifted from the hunger itself to what is meant to deal with the hunger through all the years. Slowly at first, the words shaped and the patterns of them shows itself. At last, a man may say, I know now that there isn't present in my life a quality that is only mine, because the hunger is mine. Thus at last, I come to the door and seek entrance where it is gathered, the great community, and I know the password. Teach me the patience of unanswered prayer.
On this Father's Day, it seemed appropriate to look at a story about a father of his historical proportion, Job. Job the righteous, who lost everything over a bet. I'm taking an educated bet that most of you have not read this book in the Hebrew Scriptures, or if you did, it was so long ago. But let me say that what's instructive about this story is how Job reacted to what happened to him. Job offers a model for how to respond to current firestorm of daily events in our lives. Job's story opens with an introduction to the main character. His righteousness is immediately established, for he is a blameless man who, in those days, properly fears God. He has always turned away from evil and therefore does not deserve everything that is about to happen to him and his family. This is an ongoing theme. From the beginning, the readers of this story are invited to feel compassion for Job. He is a man like any one of us. He has children, 7 sons, 3 daughters, many possessions, sheep, donkeys, camels, lots of servants. We are told Job is the greatest of man in the East. His children love him and obey him. And he gives burnt offerings to God each morning, and to how his children have sinned or cursed to make amends. God is so proud of Job, he boasts about it to Satan and his much-loved servant. Now, a word about Satan in this particular, remember, Hebrew scriptures, that Satan is an odd character in the Hebrew scriptures who really is serving as a literary device. It's important to recognize that. Satan answers God's pride with a challenge by stating, does Job fear God for nothing? See, Satan, Satan believes that Job's faith is conditional and will therefore turn to cursing when all of his blessings disappear. So God takes on the challenge and agrees to this test, mind you, without consulting Job. And he says to Satan, behold, all that he has in your power, only do all that you have in your power, only do not put your hand on him. So you can do everything against him, but don't touch Job. When the trials and the tribulations of Job begin, he quickly loses all of his possessions, his children, to great calamities, the usual big stuff. But Job remains faithful. After tearing his gown and shaving his head, these are signs of obedience to God, he offers this statement, naked I come from my mother's womb, and naked I shall return there. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. This is Job's first response, that he is naming his vulnerability. Naked I came. He's naming his vulnerability. That's his first choice. Well, God is proud and says to Satan, ha, you provoked and to ruin Job, and he stays blameless. Well, Satan takes it up a notch and says, well, any man will give away all he has to save his own life. Well, God is provoked again. And let's just say for another sermon, we'll talk about why God is so reactive. Maybe he has trauma issues, not sure, but God is a little hyper-reactive here. Okay, so God says, and allows Satan to hurt Job's body now, bringing it up, but spare his life. So Job's misfortunes increase, and now he's covered by boils all over his body. And this is just the first 2 chapters. The rest of this story is a dialogue with Job's friends who doubt Job's righteousness, imposing upon him the highly problematic theology of divine retribution. He deserved it. And it ends with Job challenging God. That doesn't go well. God just in turn challenges Job. So let's look at what happened at this point. Job has been a wonderful servant of God. He gets hit with horrible, horrible events, taking away everything he holds dear in his life. And at this point, kind of late in the story, Job's wife enters the scene. And she loses her cool, understandably, and her faith, because, well, she's been hurt as well. And she encourages Job to blame and to curse God. She suffers as well. And yet her pain, well, like a lot of women in the Bible, is largely silent. Well, she turns to anger, and Job is still faithful. She gets angry at Job for not being angry. You see where this goes. Her voice, and she is, again, like a lot of women in the Bible, she does not have a name, but she offers an important insight into the humanity's angst with pain and suffering when it arrives at our door. She gets angry. Anger is a normal response when fear and suffering are present. Many of us have experienced times in our life when we have felt perhaps a bit like Job, and maybe more so. And like Job's wife, we're angry. We're ready to place blame. There are times when we ask and we wonder that things just keep happening to us. Illness, death, job loss, accidents. They build up, they leave us devastated and exhausted. We're trying to figure out what happened. Why? Why me? And it's only natural to ask these kind of questions. And we inevitably go down the path of, what did I do to deserve this? Caution. That's called divine retribution. Even Job eventually asks God, why? And we hear the fervent prayers, deep yet remain unanswered. And Job chooses his second response, patience. Patience. I had my own Job type experience, a why me period. And the first 2 years after I graduated from college, I already had, going through high school and college, a brother and a mother who were chronically ill. But then right after college, my beloved childhood dogs, both collies, and my cat, and then my father all died. I was shattered, emotionally exhausted. And then I had my own scare with cancer, a near miss, which turned out to be nothing. But you can imagine my coping skills were pretty bad at that moment. I was beyond capacity. It seemed like every time I took a breath, I had death pounding at my heart again. I was besieged with questions of why. Such pain and challenge are universal across time and across our lands throughout humanity. They're deeply, deeply personal. And a large-scale suffering, whether it's enslavement and Holocaust to genocide, to the minute moments of our lives, we ask. And the story of Job is not just about Job, is it? It's about all of us. Humans are bound by our experiences of suffering, which is why stories such as Job are carried from tongue to tongue and can be heard again and again. Our lives are torn to shreds, and our fervent prayers continue, yet remain unanswered. Many of us have been raised with the belief that God is in control. Ours is not to question why, but I'm going to take a very educated guess that you, being Unitarian Universalists, or at least exploring being Unitarian Universalists, that at some point you asked a lot of questions and you thought, you belong here. Why was probably in your list of questions. Most people who have a religious faith, when they ask these questions, settle into a little understood intersection about belief of God, or maybe the inherent forces of life, if you could call it that, and where we have some control. And we humans, the inheritors of free will, we share in control with our decisions and how we react. But when pain and trauma enter our lives, we hit a critical intersection. We hit it full force and demand answers. answers. For the faithful theist, is this God's will? Is there a God at all who would do this to me? Why would God do this? Is this some transcendent, mysterious force? Can physics really satisfy my angst? Why? Well, did I do something to make this happen? These are natural questions. They come from a deep place. So when death and illness and trauma or existential fear that's caused by current day national issues, when they arrive in our lives, our theology, our beliefs, whatever holds us together, matter. They need to support life's events, or it's not worth believing anything at all, and we're left with nothing. Many years ago, we're working at a trauma hospital in Denver as a chaplain. I was asked to baptize a baby who had died from stillbirth because no other chaplain would do it. As I held that small, lifeless body in my arms, I realized at that moment that any decent theology, any decent belief has to hold up to babies who die. The why of death is loudest with children. Our beliefs are most challenged, kicked, really, in the epicenter of our being, in death of children. And I was there holding this beautiful baby, and I recognized that once again, that part of the mystery of the universe is that in its fullness of death and profound suffering, we have to have some beliefs. The question of why guides those beliefs in our utmost of most vulnerable moments. We heard Job recognize his vulnerability with his prayer, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I shall return there." From deep within this vulnerability, there emerges yearnings for understanding, for comprehension, for clarity in the murky, murky waters of life. And we cry and we scream out with our demands for control over our life, for a sense of purpose in this pain. There must be a reason, for surely this pain, this loss, this wretchedness is not for nothing. As we heard in that beautiful reading of Howard Thurman, an incredible African-American minister, he spoke powerful words from his context, his story, that sometimes our most urgent, hungry prayers, and they need the most patience, because of the perceived silence we get from our answers. Sometimes our patience is what gives us time to figure things out. Thurman says there is an angel of light, and it can emerge to meet our hunger. I suspect some of you have received answers from your prayer or your patient silence. Perhaps you have seen some signs or signals. After all, our brains are hardwired to look for signs and signals. It's kind of a fun game we play with ourselves. Job received an answer to his hungry question of why. The silence, though, was broken by God. The answer to Job's beliefs challenged his beliefs. He had to figure something out, something profoundly important. His patience paid off. God answered Job's questions with his demands, not by directly responding to Job, but with a declaration of God's power and mystery in the creation of the universe. It's a really amazing chapter of Job. I invite you to dig in at some point. God challenged Job to admit to his impotence and his ignorance. Job chose his final response in God's answer by submitting to God in humble silence and acceptance. This is a tough choice for Unitarian Universalists. Humble silence and acceptance? Yeah, where are we going with that one, Reverend Kate? Why? Why would God do this big power play? And then Job just says, okay. God admits to Job that there are margins of sin and suffering out of control for even the divine. A lot of pain and suffering and loss, after all, it just happens randomly. Putting important truth out there. Divine retribution is a crappy theology. Yet it's being thrown about these days. No one deserves pain and suffering, whether caused by other humans or random events. So I invite you to pay attention. Don't believe any dangerous preachers or idiot self-proclaimed prophets that are out there right now. And there are too many. No one deserves, not our immigrants, not our trans folk, not our BIPOC, not the LGBTQI community, none of us. The final scene in Job's powerful and metaphorical story, grace enters the stage. Grace. Job's faith then deepens. He sees for the first time a God of grace and compassion who walks with those in pain and need. Job sees that God is not only just, but also loving and caring. With all the chaos of pain and suffering, each of us needs to decide how we're going to respond. When our walls of protection come crumbling down, when the pain descends like a thick fog and we're blinded, taking away our most precious, then only then can we see what we expect from ourselves. Usually our response is to batten down the hatches. We expect that we can handle it, usually without any help whatsoever. We don't want to bother the neighbors or the kids. We should be able to take on, whether it's a job, life, a fire, death, accidents, and by God, the kids are going to get A's while I'm at it. And we don't want to ask for help. Pride, stubbornness, hyper-individualism at play. Some well-meaning folk have said, well, God wouldn't give you more than you can handle. This is supposed to mean that you can handle everything that life throws at you. Hear it now. Hogwash. Bully. It's a falsehood. I believe life, God, whatever you want to call it, throws us too much all the time, more than we can handle. Life is throwing us too much right now, more than we can handle. It's beyond our control. But we have options. We have options. Job offers some option. Choice A, acknowledge our vulnerability, which means we need one another. Choice 2, be patient, gives us time to figure it out. And accept that you nor anyone else deserves this. So check the judgment voice and let it go. Ultimately, this is a story about power. Not just God's power or life's power, it's your power. It's your power. Power is about having resources and the knowledge and the wisdom to use those resources effectively to create change. Now I'm going to start sounding like a member of PIN, that this is about creating change. And maybe that's why when the Christian scriptures came along, we had a new role model of Jesus who turned over the tables in the temple and showed us another choice. change. The greatest resources we have is each other. I believe that's how community happens, through engaged, powerful connectivity, because community is not really a noun, is it? It's a verb. It acts and it reacts constantly through supporting and helping each other. If God or life, or however we want to call it, feels like we're playing games with each other, we need each other as we navigate the storms of life. So this story that's been around for, best guess, 2,500 years is here to remind us again and again. So on this Father's Day, I invite all the parents out there, you do not always need to be strong. You do not always need to be wise. You do not always have to have all the answers. You do not always have to be the one who has to cope and manage. That's a hyper-individualistic behavior that perhaps is giving our children the wrong message. Instead, let us teach the children the importance of friendship and faith. Let us teach our children a deep Unitarian Universalist value of the interdependent web of all existence, which means we are something, an important part of this deep and wide and complex web. Right here, right now, this is it. And you may be wondering what did happen to Job. Well, God rewards this change in faith with another 10 kids. I am lamenting for his wife. Job got more land and animals. His friends were chastised for doubting God and for doubting their friend. And he went on to live for another 140 years. Sounds like a happy ending, but we all know that his grief and his pain and his life lessons will always be a part of him. And I suspect his group of friends are more willing to stand by him rather than judge him. In our ongoing quest for understanding life, this quest is more acute when pain enters our lives. And that is exactly then when our hearts are torn apart, when we reach out to one another and we look into each other's eyes and we feel connected. We feel compassion and empathy. And then we realize that the questions are a little easier. They keep coming, but they're a little easier because we can talk with each other about those questions. We're not on this quest alone. We have choices, and we have power. May it be so. Blessed be. I invite you to stand as you're able in body and spirit. We're going to sing 1015. I know I can go on. We're just going to sing verses 1, 2, and 4. 1, 2, and 4. Daniels at General Assembly. It's in Baltimore. But we're going to live stream it in here. But it's really, really important to note that service starts at 11. So you get an extra 5 minutes of sleep. So the service was, so Stephanie, are you liturgist? Yeah. Yeah, she is now. She will open the service a little before 11 with her own chalice lighting, and then we'll live stream it. And it's a 90-minute service. So note, come a little before 11. It's 90 minutes. Bring something to eat, and it'll be fabulous. It will be fabulous. I trust, and I give you lots of reassurance. It'll be so worth it, and it'll be awesome to gather together along with Unitarian Universalists all over the country. It'll be very, very cool. So I am leaving for break. I'm leaving for break to go to General Assembly, to go to Chautauqua, to go camping and disappear and read some books and stare at trees. And I'll see you in August. Now we can turn to our chalice lighting. The words are in our order of service and in our heart. Chalice extinguishing. Thank you. It's always lit. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go forth into this world, my beloved. Go forth into this world knowing you have choices. You have choices in how you are going to respond and react. And I know one of those responses is that you have power. You do. Go forth and use it. Return again in love. May it be so.